le vengo a avisar, señor carretero, que sus animales unos en arena. Señor carretero, le vengo a avisar, por ahí va la rueda, déjenla rodar, porque la carreta no puede llegar. Por ahí va la rueda, déjenla rodar, porque la carreta no puede llegar. El carretero se va, ya se va para Macuega. El carretero no va, se le quebró la carreta. El carretero se va, ya se va para Macuega. El carretero no va, se le quebró la carreta, señor carretero, que sus animales unos en arena. Señor carretero, le vengo a avisar, señor carretero, que sus animales unos en arena. Señor carretero, le vengo a avisar, por ahí va la rueda, déjenla rodar, porque la carreta no puede llegar. Por ahí va la rueda, déjenla rodar, porque la carreta no puede llegar.
Oiga, amigo, su carreta no se le vaya a atascar, avísenle a los yunteros que la vengan a sacar. Oiga, amigo, su carreta no se le vaya a atascar, avísenle a los yunteros que la vengan a sacar.
Ese pueblo de Dolores, qué pueblito, qué terreno tan bonito, tan alegre y tan ideal. Guanajuato está orgulloso de tener entre su estado un pueblito que es precioso, valiente y tradicional. Sus hazañas en la historia se escribieron. Su pasado es un recuerdo que nos llena de valor. Yo lo llevo en mi conciencia, cuna de la independencia, alma de nuestra nación. Viva México completo, nuestro México repleto de belleza sin igual. Esta tierra que escogió para visitarla la Virgen de Tepeyac. Mexicanos, viva Dolores Hidalgo, viva la independencia, viva Bernie Sanders. Es el 15 de septiembre, una fecha que todos los mexicanos recordamos con honor. Es el día que levantamos la bandera más bonita. Es el día que recordamos lo que Hidalgo principió. Que repiquen las campanas de Dolores. Ya al compás de los acordes de nuestro himno nacional. ¡Viva Bernie Sanders! ¡Viva México!
Briefly, tweet is for People for Bernie. It says so many people, Bernie in Tucson, feel the burn. So you can get an idea of the crowd there. Take down this lower third.
Este amor apasionado anda todo alborotado por volver. Voy camino a la locura y aunque todo me tortura, sé querer. Los dejamos hace tiempo, pero se llegó el momento de perder. Tú tenías mucha razón, le hago caso al corazón y me muero por volver. Y volver, volver, volver a tus brazos otra vez. Llegaré hasta donde estés, yo sé perder, quiero volver, volver, volver. Y no vuelves porque no quieres, chiquita. Los dejamos hace tiempo, pero se llegó el momento de perder. Tú tenías mucha razón, le hago caso al corazón y me muero por volver. Y volver, volver, volver a tus brazos otra vez. Llegaré hasta donde estés, yo sé perder, quiero volver, volver, volver. ten compasión, mi vida es tu vida, amor de los dos, tú me haces sufrir, ya no pagarás, tú no tienes perdón. Ten compasión, mi vida es tu vida, amor de los dos, tú me haces sufrir, ya lo pagarás, tú no tienes perdón. Arriba de Cihuatlán le nombran la agua escondida donde se van a bañar Cihuatecas de mi vida. Arriba de Cihuatlán le nombran la agua escondida donde se van a bañar Cihuatecas de mi vida. Ay, sí, sí, ay, no, no, ay, sí, sí, ay, no, no, ay, sí, ay, no, ay, sí, ay, no, de veras y diles que no, cuando ellas quieren no quiero yo, al cabo sí, al cabo no. Cihuateco de mi vida, dime quién te bautizó, quién te puso cihuateco para que te cante yo. Cihuateco de mi vida, dime quién te bautizó, quién te puso cihuateco para que te cante yo. Ay, sí, sí, ay, no, no, ay, sí, sí, ay, no, no, ay, sí, ay, no, ay, sí, ay, no, de veras y de veras no. Lo que te dije se te olvidó, al cabo sí, al cabo no.
And we are just minutes away from the event beginning. I'm Kinsey Schofield with Fox 10 News Now, and this is our live stream of Bernie Sanders happening in Tucson. I've been giving you a glimpse at what's currently happening on Twitter. People are beyond excited to be in the presence of Bernie Sanders in Tucson, Arizona, and you can see we've had a live mariachi band playing throughout the evening, and we are currently waiting for speakers to take the stage and for Mr. Bernie Sanders himself. Look at this cool shot I just found on Twitter. This is coming from Tucson for Bernie, and you can see the mariachi band on the left side of the screen. Amanda Owen providing us with this photo thanks to Twitter. We saw individuals taking the stage approximately 10 minutes ago, so this must have been as they took the stage. She's got a great view. We might want to stay on top of her Twitter throughout the evening and see if she gets any great photos of Bernie. But we are waiting for him to take the stage any minute now. Devin Marble posting this photo. This is fun. Let me remove the lower third here so you can see Devin's face. Selfie in the crowd shot. And the program was scheduled to start at 7, so we know we're minutes away from speakers taking the stage, including Mr. Sanders himself. In the meantime, here are some of our favorite Twitter finds. Again, this is Tucson for Bernie. Great crowd shot. Some interesting signs. I actually saw some much more interesting signs, but I'm afraid I'll get in trouble for showing them. That they included some profanity in regards to the current state of our economy. But here are some signs that are G-rated. We stand with Rosa, Bernie Sanders. Very passionate crowd. They always come prepared with creative signs, T-shirts. You know, they had the Peter Pan. Peter Pan. They had the Robin Hood's face masks when he was in Phoenix. They were huge face masks of Bernie with him wearing a Robin Hood hat.
Buenas noches, Tucson. Good evening, Tucson. The lands of the Tohono O'odham. The home of the best activists in this entire country, here in Tucson, Arizona. We are so thrilled to be here tonight that we will have our voice. Our voice has a home in the name of Senator Bernie Sanders. We thank you, Senator Sanders, for coming to Tucson, Arizona. Arizona that they describe the state of hate. Here we are to show that we will act in love on all of the issues that are important to all of us. I am so thankful to the campaign to lift our voices and our issues here in Tucson, including the very, very toxic counterparts that we are facing, especially on the issues of immigration. Bernie Sanders is here to say we have humanity. Bernie Sanders is here to say that we will stop family separations, the ones we see across this country. And here on Tucson, our very own Rosa Loreto, who has been in sanctuary for her family and for all of us. She has been in sanctuary for over a year, and we thank Senator Sanders that he can come and listen to these issues that are so important to us. This is also the home of the Sonoran Desert and our environmental treasures in this state that are being destroyed by border policies that kill people and kill Mother Earth. Policies that are destroying indigenous peoples' lands and practices, and Bernie Sanders is here to support and lift these voices. It is truly historic to see over 11,000 people strong tonight here at this park. And so, I'm Isabel Garcia, and tonight I will be your MC, and we'll end this evening with a beautiful rendition of our national anthem by twins Maria Isabel Eguino, and they are coming up to the stage now. A hand, please, and applause.
Oh, sing, can you see by the dawn's early light, words so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming
Two young students from Nogales High School. Woo! Nogales! Nogales is present here too. Now I'd like to introduce a brilliant young woman, a member of the San Carlos Apache Nation, Nailen Pike.
Hello. Dagote, she Nailen Pike Gonze, she San Carlos Golio, she Chiricahua Apache. Hello, my name is Nailen Pike. I'm enrolled in the San Carlos Apache tribe, but I am Chiricahua Apache. I come from a place called Oak Flat, Chichil, Dagotil. It's my home. It's where I come from. As a young girl, I stand there to pray. As a young girl, I believe in who I am as an Apache girl, as an Innet girl. You know, I really want to thank Bernie Sanders for letting me be here today, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be standing in front of you. But I am. I'm here with the Native people, with our voices to be heard, finally, for once. Our voice was hidden under, like the dust underneath the rug. But tonight we're standing here as our voices are being heard, because sacred land, sacred areas, and sacred things that we hold to our hearts, who we are as our identity, is being destroyed by corporations. It's being destroyed from something about greed, something that this entity that is being taken away our sacred lands and taking who I am away as a young girl, and who I am as in what I want to believe as Yosin, God, the Creator. So I stand here in front of you guys asking you to look up the Save Oak Flat Act, so that this bill that was passed as a midnight rider in the National Defense Authorization Act, to take away this sacred land, to take away public land and put it as private land for a foreign mining company that wants to destroy this land for money. But we, the people, are strong. We, the people here, stand as one. We are in a new era where we don't look at each other as different color, because we are all human beings. We are all children of God. So I am here standing with each and every one of you, because I am standing with Bernie Sanders, who supports this, who supports our people and supports the people, so that our voices will be heard in this country, because this is what this country is about. It's the freedom of who we are, the freedom of religion, the freedom to believe in anything that we want, because we are the American people. But if this land gets taken away, that is destroying our rights as human beings, our natural born rights as who we are as a person. And we're not going to let that happen. And this is why we need a new leader like Bernie Sanders to come with us, to be with the people. I will stand up and fight as us Native people, as Indigenous people, and as American people, because this is not just an Indigenous fight. This is a fight for all of us.
Thank you, Nailen, and thank you again to Bernie Sanders. Did you know, Senator Sanders, that Arizona is home to more First Nations than any place else in this country? And we are so blessed to have First Nations here. The Gila, the Tohono O'odham, the Yoemi, all of the Native peoples that are teaching us how to live. And so thank you again, Bernie Sanders, for giving us this voice. I'd next like to introduce a very brave young man. He is 10 years old. He's a student here at Mission View School. And he's courageous, living without his mother, and standing strong as a family. And so, Bernie Sanders, I thank you for coming to hear Bob de la Rosa.
Good evening. I would like to acknowledge presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders and Arizona Congressman Raul Grijalva, who have given me a chance to share my life story with all of you. My conversation with you tonight is inspired and dedicated to my mother, Gloria Arellano de la Rosa, who is in Mexico and is not present tonight to hear this, but is in my heart and guiding my thought to speak to you. My name is Bobby de la Rosa. I am 10 years old and in the 5th grade at Mission View Elementary in South Tucson. I am the youngest of 4 children who were all born here in the United States. My brothers and sister Naomi, who is a high school sophomore, are living separated from my mother, who is forced by confusing, unfair border laws to remain in Mexico, which feels to me like no hope at being with her children. We have been separated by these laws since I was 4 years old. In 2009, returning from a visit to Zacatecas to see my abuelita Maria, my mom got deported and has not been allowed to the United States to see all that her children have accomplished. At 4 years old, I really did not understand what deported meant. I remember thinking, deportado? What is that? A border patrol had stopped my mother and father. I was in the back seat with my sock monkey, not knowing my life and the life of my brothers and sister would become a nightmare. For a short time, I stayed in Mexico with my mother, but she tells me now we are separated because she wants me to have a good education. We visit her as often as we can. I love when I smell her arroz and answer the door to really tight hugs. And she says, te extrañé mucho. My father is elderly. He is 83 and in very poor health. I worry a lot about him. Some days it is hard for him to get up and walk. Without my mother, my sister, who is now 15, has to do much of the cooking, cleaning, and regañando when I don't get to bed before 10. My oldest brother, Jim, could not help at the time because he was in the Marines for the past 4 years. Last January, my father got really sick. So my brother has ended his career as a Marine serving the United States to take my mom's place because of unfair border laws that do not allow her to be with her children and my sick father. My brother Bill received the important Bill Gates full scholarship to Bowdoin College in Maine. My mother could not be here to see that. Bill is here now, and he says he is becoming an immigration lawyer to help my mother. He has become a Truman Scholar. Our family is not unique. We are one of many hard-working families who are taking steps to change and reform laws. I am only 10 years old, but I know that every family has the human right to live together. Tenemos el derecho humano de estar y vivir juntos. I hope my brother becomes a lawyer soon, because kids like me need their families together. I really need my family together because my dad is elderly, and if my dad passes away, I want my mom to be standing next to me. Right now, that would not be possible without laws changing. Every family has a human right to live together. I hope something is done soon. My mother's words to all of you who are trying to change the immigration law is, no se den por vencidos. Don't give up, please. I want to thank all of you for your hard work. I also want to express appreciation to my brothers and sisters who guide me and support me by example. Some of you may have seen my family story on the front of the page of the newspaper a few weeks ago. This is my family story, but it is also everybody's story who dreams of their family being together. By the way, remember the sock monkey I had in the back seat when I was 4? And the Border Patrol stopped us? My mother places it in her bed at night and hopes, prays, and dreams for the day she can be with her children. Te extraño mucho, mamá. My family says that with the support of presidential candidate Sanders, all families who are separated by a border can one day be together. Thank you all again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Bob. And with children like Bob and the dreamers that are out there, we have a very, very bright future with young people like the dreamers, the children of Rosa, who you see the signs here. She has been in sanctuary for over a year. She too deserves to be with her children. And we thank Bernie Sanders for coming and listening to us. Senator Sanders, I've been telling you about all of our treasures, what we're the home of, because we're so proud. But we're also very unique, because we are the home of a homeboy who did good. A young person who grew up here in Tucson, Arizona, was active all of his life, served on the school board, served on the board of supervisors, and against all odds and against big money, he won for Congress representing us. And so, Senator Sanders, I tell you, we are also the home. We are the home of Raul Grijalva, and please, please welcome him.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you, Isby, and thanks to all of you for being here and for this rousing Baja Arizona welcome for Bernie. I got asked by my colleagues in Congress, why did you endorse Bernie? You know, as if supporting Bernie was either wrong or not smart politically or at a weak moment. And my answer to my colleagues was, why not? Bernie's my friend, and beyond friendship, I agree with his values. I agree with the solutions that he is bringing and his campaign is bringing to their American people. And finally, as part of the answer, it's way past time that we had a national campaign and a voice that speaks truth to power. Not triangulated in any way, direct, honest, straight, truthful. It's a message, surprise, surprise, that the American people want to hear and that the American people support. And it's a campaign. Bernie's campaign is not built on fear. It's not built on hatred. It's not built on division or the immense money contributions from super PACs and corporate America. It is transformational, and you're here because of the truth. And this campaign speaks to the collective future of America that we are all responsible for, and Bernie speaks to that truth. Our mission and the campaign's mission is very simple. It's about fairness and equality. And our reality is this: our economy is only working for the super rich, and the corporations and hard-working people. People striving to get ahead. People finding themselves paying more and getting paid less. And finding that the doors of opportunity are closed to them and their families. That's the people that are listening to Bernie, and those are the persons that care about this country in the long term, not from one election to another, but what happens in the long term. Because the fairness is about justice too. And economic justice requires jobs. It requires opportunity. And that the poor not be neglected and treated as collateral damage simply because they're poor. And simply because they might look different. They might have needs that are different. They might be in a different zip code. They might be in a different color. Economic justice is about fairness. Economic justice and fairness are one and the same. And this campaign has blended those together in such a way that when people talk about the economy, they talk about themselves, but they also talk about the greater good, that a good economy that rewards work, rewards discipline, rewards ambition, and rewards striving, as opposed to an economy we have now that rewards power only, rewards richness more, and concentrates that wealth in a way that the rest of America can't have it and can't have the same opportunities. So we need a government that works for every one of us, and let that opportunity guide us. Don't close the doors to education. Don't price us out of going to college. Don't labor us with a debt we can't pay. And we heard from two brilliant young people today, and very moving stories and discussions. The issue of Oak Flats transcends Oak Flats. It is about the first Americans receiving the respect, the sovereignty, and the decency to be treated as first Americans. And Bob, about his family and his mom. But it is more. It is about dealing with an issue not by demonizing people, but by uniting families and fixing a broken immigration system that is punitive at best and broken at worst. So and the reality of our America is that it's more diverse. It's got different hues, different textures, different tones. The reality is not something that we need to fear, but in the tradition of this great nation of ours, a tradition that I grew up in, that Bob is growing up with, that every one of us grew up in, a tradition that says, from many there is one. That's the tradition that we need. That's the attitude that we have to have. And that is the forward progress that Bernie's campaign is bringing to the American people. Estoy aquí yo apoyando a Bernie y sinceramente porque creo que su agenda de una economía justa, de una reforma migratoria justa, de una democracia justa, donde cada persona y su voto vale, es una de las razones que estoy aquí. Y les pido a la comunidad que con nuestro voto podemos defender nuestras familias y nuestro futuro. Con nuestro voto expresamos nuestro orgullo y presencia en este país para hacerlo mejor. Bernie aprecia que este país no nomás es un complejo de muchas gentes, pero de muchas gentes es un país solo. Y así lo tenemos que defender y también tenemos que respetar que cada persona, sus diferencias son fuerzas del país, no es algo que le hace daño al país. You know, as we go forward in this campaign, it's going to be a fight, and we're all going to be in that fight. But I am convinced more than ever, and today with all of you here, just validates the sense that I have, that we're in a transformational period where the American people have said enough. We're going to take this great democracy, a stronger country, a fairer country, and a country that respects its people. That's why I'm here today. So it is with pleasure, pride, and the privilege to welcome and introduce to you the next President of the United States of America, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. Thank you, Tucson. And let me begin by saying that we have done rallies all over this country, and we've had great people, trade unionists, environmentalists, women's advocate, introducing us, but I have never heard people, young people, give the kinds of introductions and statements that I heard tonight in Tucson. And what it tells me, and Raul made this point, what it tells me is that when we stand together as white and black and Latino and Native American and Asian American, when we stand together, there is nothing that can stop us from transforming this country. And let me just start off by thanking Congressman Raul Grijalva, not only for his friendship for so many years, not only for his co-chairmanship of the Progressive Caucus, but for his decades of fighting for civil rights for all, of how much we owe to the first Americans. and that we will protect them. And let me thank that young man, Bob De La Rosa. And let me thank those two young ladies, Maria Isabel and Maria Teresa Aguino, for that wonderful rendition of the national anthem. Frankly, it is hard to follow in the footsteps of these young people, beautiful young people. Make us all so proud. Now, I am often asked by the media why it is that we attract turnouts like this, why so many people in Tucson are out tonight, why 24,000 people were out in Boston last week, why 28,000 people a couple of months ago were out in Portland, Oregon. And the media is asking, why is this happening? Why is it happening that we are raising money without a super PAC? We were all told, all of the political experts said that the only way you can compete is by begging millionaires and billionaires and super PACs for money. We said no. And our campaign has received 650,000 individual contributions. And the average contribution, and this warms my heart, the average contribution is not $2,000, it's not $50,000, it is $30 a person. How's that? This is a people's campaign, not a billionaire's campaign. And when the media asks, how is all of this happening? Who is going to respond to the call for a political revolution? It turns out that the people in Tucson and people all over this country are prepared to stand up, as Raul said, and make sure that our government belongs to all of us and not just a handful of billionaires. The truth is that the American people are sick and tired of establishment politics. They are sick and tired of establishment economics. The people of this country understand that almost all of the new wealth and income being created is going to the top 1%. And the American people are saying loud and clear, we want an economy that works for workers, not just the very rich. And the American people understand that as a result of the Citizens United Supreme Court decision, you know about Citizens United, that as a result of that decision, our campaign finance system, our political system is totally corrupt and American democracy is being undermined. Before I get into the thrust of my remarks, I wanted to take a brief moment to tell you what I expect most of you already know, and that is that today, on 2 campuses in our country, one at Texas Southern University, a student was shot and killed, and one other was wounded. And as you know, in your own state, at Northern Arizona State University in Flagstaff, one student was killed and 3 were wounded. Now, it goes without saying that our condolences go to the families of those who were killed, and our hearts and prayers go out for a full recovery for those that were wounded. But we also know that we are tired of condolences and we are tired of just prayers. We are tired and we are embarrassed in picking up the paper or turning on the TV and seeing children in elementary schools slaughtered and young people on college campuses shot. And the truth of the matter is, I wish I could tell you otherwise, the issue of gun violence is not going to be solved easily. But just because it is not going to be solved easily does not mean that we do not address it and do the best we can. Now, I come from a state of Vermont, thank you, and I invite you all up, especially in the summer. And we'll come here in the winter. How's that? I come from a state which has a history going back to its very creation of people owning guns and hunting and doing target practice. But the truth, and having virtually no gun control at all today. But what the people of Vermont understand is that we need to have a serious conversation and stop the yelling and demeaning of all people involved in this issue. Overwhelmingly, the American people understand that it is crazy that people who should not own guns do own guns. They understand overwhelmingly that not only do we need to strengthen the instant background check, we need to broaden it as well. And they understand that it makes no sense that we have a loophole in the law so that people can go to gun shows and buy weapons without having to go through the instant background check. People understand that's wrong and that has got to change. And there are many people in this country who do not understand why we are selling and distributing, allowing to be distributed, assault weapons which have only one function, and that is the killing of people. And people do not understand why we do not have legislation to prevent people from buying guns legally, but then selling it to criminals, the so-called straw man situation. And also what people don't understand is that in my state and all over this country, there are people who are experiencing severe emotional problems. All over this country, we have thousands of people who are suicidal, who are homicidal, but they cannot get the help they need when they need it. We need a revolution in mental health delivery in this country. Somehow, if you are involved in an automobile accident and you're hurt, you get rushed to an emergency room and you get good care. People save your lives. But if you are suffering a mental breakdown and you are suicidal or you're a homicidal, you may not be able to find the care you need because there aren't doctors or counselors available, or you cannot afford that care. That's wrong. So I think while, yes, there are disagreements of how we go forward in terms of gun safety, I think the vast majority of the American people want us to move forward in sensible ways which keeps guns out of the hands of people who should not have that and cuts down on these senseless murders that we see every week. And let me also say a word on an issue that I know is obviously of enormous consequence all over this country, but maybe more in Arizona than in many other areas. And that is the issue of immigration reform. And let me begin by saying I know a little bit about immigration, because my father came to this country at the age of 17 from Poland. He came to this country not speaking a word of English, came to this country without a nickel in his pocket, and he never made a whole lot of money. I grew up in a 3.5-room rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York. And my mother's dream was that someday maybe our family would own its own home and not have to rent. That never happened. She died young, and her dream never came to pass. But my parents, both of them, were enormously proud, my father maybe especially, to see his two sons go to college, and he enjoyed the opportunities that America gave him, and there was no prouder American than that young man who came to this country at the age of 17. Now, my family's story is a story very similar to many people who are here tonight. And that story is the story of America. It is the story of hardworking families coming into this country to create a brighter future for their children. It is a story rooted in family and fueled by hope. It is a story that continues to this day in families all across our country. Today, as everyone here knows, we have 11 million people in this country who are undocumented, who came to this country to improve their lives, to escape oppression, fleeing desperate poverty and violence. Let's be frank. Today's undocumented workers play an extraordinarily important role in our economy. Without these workers, it is likely that our agricultural system would collapse. Undocumented workers are doing the hardest work in this country. They are harvesting our crops, building our homes, cooking our meals, caring for our kids. They are part of the fabric of this country. 11 million people came to this country so they could feed their families, escape gang violence, and desperate economic circumstances. Let me also be very clear that people came to this country because they knew that there were jobs, and if anyone thinks that employers throughout America didn't know that the workers they were hiring were undocumented, they would be dead wrong. That is the reality of where we are. Employers were complicit, hiring undocumented workers for low wages. That's the fact. Slave wages, all right. And let me tell you a little story, if I might. Back in 2007, as the senator from Vermont, I went to a place called Immokalee, Florida. Anybody know where Immokalee, Florida is? What is unique about Immokalee, Florida, a small town near Naples, that's where they grow most of the tomatoes, low-grade tomatoes used by McDonald's and Burger King. I went there. On the day that I visited, just coincidentally, the U.S. attorney was bringing charges against a contractor for slavery. In 2007, people were being held involuntarily to work in the fields. And I saw the working conditions and the exploitation that these workers experienced. And I saw the horrendous housing that they lived in. And I'm happy to tell you that we had a hearing on this issue in Washington. We made some progress. Wages went up. Working conditions went up. But the truth is, there are many Immokalees all over this country where undocumented workers are being exploited. And when you exploit people who cannot defend themselves, when you exploit people by paying them low wages, what you are doing is creating a race to the bottom for every worker in America. And let me tell you something else. People can have disagreements about immigration reform. But in the year 2015, it is not acceptable to be stooping to racism and demagoguery in order to win some political votes. It is not acceptable. It is not American to be defining a whole group of people who happen to come from Mexico and calling them criminals and rapists. We have fought too hard in this country for hundreds of years to end racism, to end discrimination, to revert in 2015 to that kind of ugly language. Now, in 2013, I proudly supported comprehensive immigration reform legislation that passed the U.S. Senate. Now, this is not, and I do not. The Senate bill contained the provisions of the DREAM Act, which I strongly support, and which would offer the opportunity of permanent residency and eventual citizenship to young people who are brought to the United States as children. It is my belief that we should recognize the young men and women who comprise the Dreamers for what they are, American kids who deserve the right to legally be in the country which is their home. The Senate bill was far from perfect, but at least it began the process of moving us in the right direction. It is beyond my comprehension that the House of Representatives has not yet even begun the discussion on immigration. Instead of reverting to racism, maybe they want to deal with this issue in a serious way. Until we can pass comprehensive immigration reform, we must be as aggressive as we can in pursuing policies that are humane and sensible and that keep families together. And this includes taking measures that are currently available, including using the presidential power of executive orders when appropriate. While the Senate passed the DREAM Act in its immigration bill, and while the House has not yet acted, I think President Obama did exactly the right thing through his executive order for deferred action for childhood arrivals. DACA, as it is called, was a good first step, but should be expanded. Deferred action should be expanded to include the parents of citizens, parents of legal permanent residents, and the parents of dreamers. Our job is to bring families together, not tear them apart. And when we talk about issues facing this country beyond gun violence, beyond immigration, we are talking about the fact that in the United States today, we have more income and wealth inequality than any other major country on earth, and it is worse today in America than at any time since 1928. Let me be very clear. There is something profoundly wrong in this country when the top 1/10 of 1% own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That is not what America is supposed to be about. There is something profoundly wrong when in Arizona and Vermont and all over this country, people are working 2 or 3 jobs. People are working incredible hours in order to put food on the table, and yet 58% of all new income is going to the top 1%. That's wrong. There is something wrong in this country when in recent years we have seen a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, and yet we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. That's wrong. There is something wrong when in the last 2 years, the 14 wealthiest people in this country, 14 people, have seen their wealth increase by $156 billion. That is more wealth than is owned by the bottom 130 million Americans. What this campaign is about is sending a message to the billionaire class. And that message is, you cannot have it all. Our message to the greedy is that you, as billionaires, are not going to get more tax breaks when children in America go hungry. You are not going to provide huge compensation packages to the CEOs of large corporations at the same time as you're cutting the health care and the wages and the pensions of your workers. Ain't gonna happen. But what this economy is about is not just the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality. It is about the fact that, yes, we are a lot better off economically today than we were when Bush left office. That's true. You know, my Republican friends suffer from a very peculiar disease. It's called short-term amnesia. Their view is that Barack Obama has caused every problem in the history of the world. Yet they forgot that 7 years ago, 800,000 people a month were losing their jobs. They seem to have forgotten that the world's financial system, as a result of the greed and recklessness of Wall Street, was on the verge of collapse. And they seem to forget, great deficit hawks that they were, that under Bush we ran up the largest deficit in the history of America. But while we are better off today than we were 7 years ago, there is another truth, and that is, for the last 40 years, the great middle class of this country has been disappearing. What we have seen in recent years, an explosion of technology, workers being far more productive, and yet most of our people are working longer hours for lower wages. What we have seen is median family income in this country going down by $4,000 since 1999. What we have seen is male workers, the average male worker in the middle of the economy, making hundreds of dollars less than he did 40 years ago, and women making less today than they did 7 years ago. And what the political revolution that we are involved is about is, yes, we are going to create an economy that works for all of us and not just the people on top. And I want to say a word about unemployment. It's not talked about enough. Real unemployment in this country, if you include those people who have given up looking for work and the many who are working part-time, ain't 5%. It is 10%. And now let me tell you something that very few people talk about, and that is the crisis of youth unemployment in this country. A couple of months ago, I asked some economists to do a study for me, and I asked them to tell me what real youth unemployment and underemployment was for high school graduates, not dropouts, high school graduates between the ages of 17 and 20. And this is what they told me. For white kids, real unemployment, 33%. For Latino kids, real unemployment, 36%. For African American kids, real unemployment, 51%. In other words, we are turning our backs on an entire generation of young people who want to stand up on their own 2 feet. They want to earn some money. They want to get out of the house. They want to begin their lives as adults. And what we are saying to them is there are no jobs available for you. But let me tell you something else that we are saying to these young people. Today in America, we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. 2.2 million people in jail, disproportionately black and Latino. Now, it seems to me when you have youth unemployment at 30, 40, or 50%, maybe, just maybe, it makes sense to invest in education and jobs rather than jails and incarceration. Here is a promise. Here is a promise. I don't make a whole lot of campaign promises. You got one here tonight. If elected president, the United States of America will not have more people in jail than any other country on earth. We're going to send our young people to jobs and school, not to jails. And when we talk about the economy in America today, and when we talk about why people are working such long hours, so many jobs, it has everything to do with the fact that wages in America are just too damn low. As all of you know, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Now, you can do the arithmetic as well as I can. You multiply 7 1/4 or $8 by 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, and what you end up with is not enough money to take care of a family. And that is why I believe that the minimum wage has got to be raised to a living wage, $15 an hour. And when we talk about fair wages, I hope every man here will stand with the women and fight for pay equity for women workers. There is no rational economic reason why women are earning 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. It is simply sexism. It's got to end. Now, in the campaign season, we often hear a whole lot about family values. Republican family values. They just stay up nights worrying about families. But you all know that when Republicans talk about family values, what they are talking about is their belief that women in this country should not have the right to control their own bodies. I disagree. And when they talk about family values, what they are talking about is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to get married. I disagree. My wife, Jane, who you just met, and I have been married for 27 years. We have 4 great kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren. We believe in family values, but they're not Republican family values. At the top of my list of family values is for the United States to end the international embarrassment of being the only major country on earth that does not guarantee paid family medical leave. When a working class woman has a baby, she should not be forced to go back to work a week or 2 weeks after the birth of that baby. And that is why I believe that our country has got to join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee at least 3 months of paid family and medical leave. And brothers and sisters, when we talk about the economy, what is always on people's minds is the issue of jobs, jobs, jobs. People understand how difficult it is to go out and get a job that pays a living wage. Well, it seems to me that if real unemployment is 10%, if youth unemployment is 30, 40, or 50%, the United States government must undertake a massive federal jobs program to put millions of people back to work. I want to see this country hiring teachers, not firing teachers. I want to see cities and towns hiring child care workers so that our kids get the quality child care they need. And when our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, water systems, rail, airports, levees, and dams are collapsing all over this country, I want to see millions of workers getting back to work, rebuilding that infrastructure. And when we talk about the economy, we cannot help but talk about the greed and fraud and dishonesty and arrogance of those who work on Wall Street. All of you know that as a result of the greed and recklessness and illegal behavior of Wall Street, this country was driven into the worst economic downturn since the 1930s. Now, what some of you may not know, you may not know this, but today 3 out of the 4 largest banks are much larger today than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. When we have 6 banks in this country issuing 2/3 of the credit cards and over 35% of all mortgages, in my view, when you have 6 large banks that have assets equivalent to 60% of the GDP of this country, when you have banks that are too big to fail, in my view, they are too big to exist. We've got to break them up. I want to see a financial system where credit unions and community banks are out there making loans to small and medium-sized businesses, not a Wall Street, which is an island unto itself, only concerned about their profits. And brothers and sisters, when we talk about what's going on in this country today, there is one issue which impacts every other issue. And that is that 5 years ago, by a 5-4 vote, the United States Supreme Court ruled through Citizens United that millionaires and billionaires would be able to purchase the United States government. What they said is to the wealthiest people in this country, they said, you guys already own much of the economy. We are now going to give you the opportunity to own the government. And the result of that is the wealthiest people in this country are pouring huge amounts of money into campaigns in order to elect candidates whose sole function in life is to represent the rich and the powerful. You have one family in America, the second wealthiest family, the Koch brothers. This is a smart crowd, okay. You got this family, and what they want to do is they don't want to cut Social Security. They want to eliminate Social Security. They don't want to cut Medicare. They want to eliminate Medicare and Medicaid and the Environmental Protection Agency. They don't want to simply not raise the minimum wage. They want to do away with the concept of the minimum wage so workers can work for $3 or $4 an hour. Now, this family is going to spend some $900 million in this election cycle. In other words, what democracy has become is you have one vote, they have one vote, plus $900 million. Now, when you have one family spending more money on a campaign than either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, you are not talking about democracy, you are talking about oligarchy, and we have got to stop that. So here is my second promise to you tonight, and that is that no nominee of mine to the U.S. Supreme Court will get that position unless he or she is loud and clear in telling the American people that they will vote to overturn Citizens United. And by the way, when we talk about democracy, and we talk about the fact that brave men and women throughout our history have fought and died to defend democracy, it is important to say a word about those Republican governors and legislatures who are trying to suppress the vote all over this country. Now, I've been involved in a lot of elections. Sometimes I've lost, sometimes I've won. But it has never occurred to me to figure out a way to deny the vote to people who disagree with me and who would vote against me. I regard it as an act of grotesque political cowardice for people to not have the guts to go out in a free and fair election, to think the only way they can win is to make it harder for low-income people or young people or people of color or seniors to vote. And my suggestion to those people, if you are afraid of a fair election, get another job. So if I have anything to say about it, and I will, if elected president, There will be one law for 50 states in this country, and that is if you're 18 years of age, you are registered to vote. End of discussion. When we talk about democracy, let me tell you what I want to see. I want to see this country have one of the highest voting turnouts of any country, not one of the lowest voter turnouts. And I want to see anybody here tonight, regardless of their political views, if you want to run for office, I want you to be able to run for office without having to beg campaign contributions from wealthy people. And that is why I support public funding of elections. And let me touch on another issue of enormous consequence. We live, as all of you know, in a highly competitive global economy. And if we are going to succeed now and in the future, we need the best educated workforce in the world. That means that when mom and dad go to work, they know that their kids are in high-quality pre-K programs that they can afford. It means that our public schools and our teachers are adequately funded. And this is what it also means. It means that in America, and we've got legislation in to do this, every public college and university must be tuition free. It is totally, think about it for a second. We have hundreds of thousands of bright young people in this country. They are qualified, they're ready to go to college. They can't go for one reason. Their families lack the money. What we are doing is pulling out the ladder from right underneath them to give them the opportunity to make it into the middle class, to become teachers or doctors or engineers or scientists. That is unfair to those young people, but it is unfair to the future of this country. Our job is to capture the best intellects that we can and to say to young people, you can't get the education because your families lack the money is totally absurd. Totally absurd. And what we are also going to deal with is the absurd situation today of millions of young people and people not so young who are struggling with high levels of student debt. Now, 2 years ago, I spoke to a young woman in Burlington, Vermont. Her dream was to go to medical school, become a primary care physician for low-income people, exactly what we need. Her penalty for doing what this country desperately needs was coming out of school $300,000 in debt. All over this country, there is a dental crisis. We need dentists. We need to make sure that people can afford to go to dentists, that they can access dentists. Young dentists I saw in Iowa came out of school $400,000 in debt. All over this country, People are graduating school deeply in debt. They're paying 25% of their incomes on student debt. Now, what I don't understand when we talk about student debt, how does it happen that people are stuck with student debt interest rates of 6, 8, 10% when you can refinance your home for 2, 3, 4%? So our legislation will allow people to refinance at the lowest interest rates they can find. It will get the government out of the business of profiteering on working class families. Now, people say, well, it's a great idea, Bernie, but it is expensive. They're right, it is expensive. It's going to cost about $70 billion a year. You know how we're going to pay it? We're going to pay for it by a tax on Wall Street speculation. When Wall Street collapsed in 2008, they came begging the taxpayers of this country, oh, please bail us out, we'll be good boys. Well, now it's Wall Street's turn to bail out the middle class. And when we talk about our responsibilities as human beings and as parents, there is nothing more important than leaving our planet healthy and habitable for our kids and our grandchildren. Pope Francis is right. The debate is over. The scientific community is virtually unanimous. Climate change is real. It is caused by human activity, and it is already causing devastating problems throughout our country and much of the world. We have a moral responsibility to lead the world, to work with China and Russia and India, countries all over this world, in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And when we talk about the needs of the American people and where we want to go as a nation, I hope that every person here knows that there is only one major wealthy nation on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right. That is the United States of America. That has got to change. The Affordable Care Act has done a lot of good, and I was proud to support it, but we have got to go further. $29 million people still have no health insurance, and many more are underinsured with high premiums and high deductibles. In my view, we have got to move toward a Medicare for all single-payer program. Health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. And when we talk about where we want to go as a nation, we have got to understand that while we have come a long way in overcoming discrimination and racism and prejudice, sadly and tragically, racism remains alive and well in America. And I promise you my third promise. There will be no president who will fight harder to end institutional racism in this country and reform a broken criminal justice system. There are 2 points I want to make now. And the first point, maybe the most important point, is that no president, not Bernie Sanders, not anybody else, can address the enormous problems that we face in this country today. And I've touched on some of them, and some I haven't even touched on. Enormous problems. No president alone can do that. And you know why? Because let me tell you what no other candidate will tell you. The powers that be in this country, that is corporate America, Wall Street, the corporate media, the large campaign donors, they are so powerful that no president alone can effectively take them on and bring about the changes that we need in this country to improve lives for working people. The only way that real change takes place is when we make a political revolution in which millions of people, young and old, black and white and Latino and Native American and Asian American, gay and straight, men and women, people who were born in this country, people who were born in other countries. Now, what politics in America is about, and Raul touched on this a moment ago, is our opponents are trying to divide us. They are trying to divide those who were born in this country from those who weren't. They're trying to divide straight people from gay people, men from women. And our antidote is to say to them, no, you're not going to divide us up. We are going to stand together. And we are going to say, yes, you and your super PACs may have all the money, but we have something you don't have. And what we have is look around you tonight. We have the people. And the simple political fact, and this is just a fact of history, is that when people stand together and demand change, we never lose. We never lose. Think about it for a moment. Think about it. Think about the civil rights struggle of millions of people coming together saying, we're going to end segregation and racism in America. Think about women coming together and saying, we're not going to be second-class citizens anymore. Think about the environmental community coming together and say, you have to address the environmental crises that we face. Think about the progress made in recent years, led by the gay community and their straight allies. So when we stand together and we say, you know, we're going to create an economy that just doesn't make the rich richer, but is going to give dignity and security to the elderly, because we are not going to cut Social Security, we're going to expand Social Security. Now, my message tonight is, please do not think small, think big. You are living. Now, we could have, if we were a poor country, we would have a very different type of discussion. If you're a poor country, then people would have to say, it's too bad, we can't afford to send our kids to college. We can't afford health care to all people. Brothers and sisters, you are living today in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. That's the truth. Very few people understand that, because almost all of the wealth is going to the people on the top. It is not utopian thinking to say that when we think big and when we stand together, we can create a situation where every man, woman, and child in this country has health care as a right. Not utopian thinking. It exists in every other major country. It is not utopian thinking to say that we can have the best child care and pre-K system in the world. It is not utopian thinking, because many other countries already do it, to say that public colleges and universities should be tuition free. Not utopian. It is not utopian to say that the veterans, the men and women who put their lives on the line to defend us, should get the health care and the benefits that they earn. Not utopian. It is not utopian to say that every person in this country, no matter their race, their religion, their disability, their sexual orientation, should be able to realize the full promise of equality that is our birthright as Americans. Brothers and sisters, when we stand together, this is the country that we can create. Let's do it. Thank you.
I did have to lower it because it is a top 40 song, but while we continue to have this feed in the comment section of the chat, do tell me some of your favorite Bernie moments, some of your favorite Bernie points. I'm also cutting this right now as we speak, so that if you just want to watch the Bernie Sanders speech again without the beginning, without the speakers at the beginning or the mariachi band, I'm cutting just Bernie's part of the speech, and I'm minutes away from uploading it to our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to share that on any of your pages, you can. I heard him referencing Donald Trump and talking about instigating racism. I heard some hits at Hillary Clinton. And it's also refreshing to see a candidate speak for so long. You know, he was up there for quite some time. And really to lay out what his plan is and to discuss. I do love watching Trump speak. I really do enjoy watching Trump speak, but a lot of it's about Trump versus about what his plans are. And it's interesting to see a candidate stand up and talk specifics, which is what we heard tonight.
Game over.
And it does look like I've unfortunately lost my Bernie Sanders feed from Tucson. Give me 2 seconds to go ahead and finish uploading this video in case you'd like to share. This is video I'm uploading to our YouTube channel that will just be Bernie's speech in full. All right, so I'm saving now, so if you would like to share this video, you can share it. Look for FNN full Bernie Sanders and Tucson speech. And you can share this video with your friends. I see Rachel sent me a message asking if I'll be showing this video at another time. She said it's hard to concentrate with so many people in the room. And Rachel, I'll link that video to you right now. It's going to take a few minutes to process, but I'll tweet it back to you. We did have an unbelievably full day of news today. If you are from the Arizona area, if you are in the state of Arizona, I'm sure you heard about the shootings today in Flagstaff. And I'm going to show you quickly an update on that. This is from our 5 or 6 o'clock broadcast, but it's going to give you an overview of the horrific incident that happened today in Flagstaff. And it'll just kind of get you ready for our 9 o'clock broadcast, which is happening in 14 minutes from now.
It's been an emotional day for students on the campus of NAU. Many attending a news conference about this shooting early this morning. Several of them turning to one another for comfort on what's been a very, very tough day.
Campus police had the accused shooter in custody just minutes after the incident. He's been identified now as Stephen Jones, an 18-year-old freshman student at NAU. He's already had his initial appearance in court, so now he's officially charged with first-degree murder and 3 counts of assault. His bond set at $2 million.
The 4 victims in the shooting were all members of the same fraternity, Delta Chi. Police say this started as a fight between students, and the student who was shot and killed was Colin Burrow. He was from Colorado. Burrow graduated from Castleview High School in Castle Rock, Colorado, back in 2013, 2 years ago. The 3 other victims are being treated at Flagstaff Medical Center tonight. They include Valley residents Kyle Zentek and Nicholas Peering, and Nicholas Prado, who was from San Diego.
Now, this shooting happened on campus, but not near any classroom buildings. Let's use our 3D mapping software. We'll show you exactly where it happened. It was a parking lot near Mountain View Hall. So here's Flagstaff. You have to take I-17 to get up there, right? So we'll zoom into the city here. And the main drag kind of goes through this area here. So as you're driving by, you look and you see the campus, and these are all the buildings that you see in this area. But the shooting didn't happen right there. So I'll zoom in a little bit further. And it happened to the northeast part of the campus in this area right here. It's this Mountain View Hall. It's a large dorm-like area, and a lot of Greek organizations are headquartered here, and a lot of the students live in this building. Andrew Hasman now beginning our team coverage with more on what happened. Andrew?
And Troy, I was in court this afternoon, and the suspect, that 18-year-old, really didn't say too much, but at times he appeared to weep. We're told by prosecutors that after that initial fight, the suspect went back to his car and got a gun. A crime scene on campus. The parking lot in front of this large dorm is where the groups got into some sort of an altercation. All the victims are members of the Delta Chi fraternity. The accused shooter, 18-year-old Stephen Jones, is not.
This is not going to be a normal day at NAU. Our hearts are heavy.
The shots rang out around 1:20 this morning. Police were able to catch the suspect, and the victims were taken to the hospital. NAU freshman Colin Burrow was killed. One other victim is still in critical condition.
I got a bunch of texts on my phone from friends and family asking if I'm okay.
Shortly after the shooting, NAU set up counseling services for students and an emergency line for parents.
There's never been any type of tragedy that happened at any that I can think of.
These are pictures from the accused shooter's Instagram, posing with a shotgun and other weapons. In court, prosecutors said Jones used a .40 caliber gun this morning.
There's no indication of self-defense here. The defendant had retreated from the fight, he obtained a gun, and then he went back into the fray.
Jones appeared in court via video. At times, he appeared to tear up. The judge only allowed audio recordings in the courtroom. Before the judge set the suspect's bond, prosecutors read a statement from victim Nick Peering.
Killed my best friend, and I watched him die in front of me. He did this for no reason, and he needs to stay in custody.
They also read a statement from the father of Colin Burrow.
He killed my son. He shouldn't be allowed to go anywhere and needs to stay in custody.
And this afternoon, we learned that the suspect, Stephen Jones, was a pledge at the Sigma Chi fraternity here at NAU. He's also a lifelong resident of Glendale. The judge set his bond at $2 million cash. Reporting live in Flagstaff, I'm Andrew Hasbun, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Andrew. In the midst of all this, some students are questioning the notification process about the shooting today. NAU says that an error in its alert system kept some people on its distribution list from getting the initial message warning of an active shooter. Now, let's give you the timeline on this. Campus police, they basically notified everyone about the shooting. They were notified at 1:20 this morning, and then they sent out their first text to students at 1:30, advising them to take cover. Because of an error, not everybody got that text. Then at 2:52 in the morning, 90 minutes later, a final all clear message was sent to the entire campus. We'll have more on the alert and what went wrong today coming up at 5:30.
Classes were not canceled at NAU today, but there's definitely a heavy feeling on campus. Counselors were made available for students who were having a tough time. Danielle Miller joins us live now. TV coverage. Danielle.
Yeah, Troy, the school's president, Reid releasing that statement earlier this morning, saying that today is not going to be a normal day here on the school's campus. Now, some students we spoke to a little bit earlier this afternoon definitely agreeing with that. They tell us that Fridays here around campus are typically a little bit more quiet because a lot of students actually do not have class, but they say today is something like they've never seen. They tell us that students were pretty much very quiet out here this afternoon, and all in all just in shock. Now, many of these students woke up to these alerts very early in the morning, so definitely kind of shocking news to wake up so early in the morning to that. Now, as you mentioned, Troy, classes were not canceled due to this shooting, but professors were asked to be sensitive to students' needs, and students were just shocked that something like this would happen on what they say is typically their peaceful, quiet campus.
The campus is usually pretty busy. Everyone's walking around, hanging out, like going out to eat at the Union, stuff like that. And today when I was on campus going to class, it was like silent, like nobody was out. Most of my class was actually like missing.
Things can happen to anybody anywhere, and that's just kind of a reality of life. And I still think that the campus is safe. Like, it's a great place to be, and the fact that one person chose to do this is not reflective of the campus as a whole.
And counseling services for these students and staff have been available all day here on campus. Now, those same exact services will be offered tomorrow from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. in the Health and Learning Center. Reporting live in Flagstaff, Danielle Miller, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Danielle. Members of the Delta Chi fraternity holding a candlelight vigil tonight. It begins at 7 at the North Quad on NAU's campus. They also plan to start a GoFundMe account to raise money for the families of the shooting victims today. We'll be there. We'll have more tonight at 9.
Marcy Jones is in Glendale outside Mountain Ridge High School where the suspected shooter and one of the victims both went to high school, and I imagine it's a tough day out there today, Marcy.
Absolutely, Troy and John. While most of the country is still trying to wrap their head around exactly what happened this morning, we're learning more information about the young men involved in this deadly shooting and their connection to right here in the valley. In an eerie twist, one of the victims, Kyle Zintek, and the shooter, alleged shooter, Stephen Jones, both attended Mountain Ridge High School here in Glendale. But according to Deer Valley Unified School District, never overlapped. Kyle Zintek attended from August 2009 to May 2013, while Stephen Jones only walked these halls for 4 months, from January 2014 until April 2014. Now, there are still a lot of questions unanswered at this point, of course, because it's still very early on in the investigation. But the most obvious ones being, why did this happen in the first place? What led to this altercation, and what made it escalate into a fatal shooting? Reporting live in Glendale, Marcy Jones, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Marcy. There's been a lot of reaction, obviously, on social media to the shooting, and with the hashtag NAU shooting, people using that hashtag earlier today. But today it switched to NAU Strong as a show of support. Several Arizona lawmakers sent out tweets today, and let's start with Gabby Giffords, who knows about this stuff, obviously, all too well, intensely personal. She says another shooting on a college campus, this time in my home state of Arizona, holding the NAU family in my prayers. This from Governor Doug Ducey, praying for the NAU, praying for NAU and the victims of this morning's shooting. All Arizonans have the Flagstaff community in their hearts today. Jeff Flake, Senator, joining the entire state in sending thoughts and prayers to the victims of the tragedy at NAU, their families, and the Flagstaff community. Just a sampling of some of the tweets that went out today.
This was supposed to be a gun-free zone. The Arizona Board of Regents has a policy that prohibits students from carrying guns on campus. Now, with permission, students are allowed to store guns in a locked car or in a locked compartment in their car. About 20,000 students attend NAU, and it has more than 25 satellite campuses all around the state. Stay with Fox 10 for continuing coverage of this shooting. We have more ahead at 5:30 and also full coverage right now on our website, fox10phoenix.com, and on Fox News Now.
All right, now here is where I have to get creative because I want to play these 911 calls from you. These are the raw 911 calls that were received in Flagstaff. They were received. We received these 911 calls. I don't know how. I haven't listened to them. I'm listening to them with you for the very first time, but they are MP3 and so what it is it's just going to make the screen dark. So I'm going to try to put a photo in front of the audio so that we're not just listening to, so we're not just looking at a blank screen. And we add this lower third. Actually here. So this is the shooter you're looking at. Let's listen to these 911 calls.
There's a guy outside and he's shooting people. Where are you located? We're at Mountain View at Northern Arizona University. Okay, so he has a gun? He has a gun. He's shot people. He's shot people, and he's... Okay, is it just one male? It's one male. He's yelling right now. There's people on the ground. Yeah. Okay, what is it? We're at Mountain View. It's in the parking lot. Mountain View parking lot? Yeah, next to the track. And there's people down. And... Okay. I'm like shaking. Okay. He's yelling. Okay. NAU Police Emergency. Hi, I'm in Mountain View, and outside in the parking lot, we heard gunshots, and then people are screaming, call an ambulance, and that somebody got shot. Okay, we do have people around. Okay, I'm gonna let you go. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye.
So that might actually be the conclusion of the first set of 911 calls.
Okay, the police are arriving here on scene now. Okay, do you have a description on the individual? No, I just heard gunshots and I just see people laying down in the parking lot. Okay, please get in a safe place, okay? Okay. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, are you still there? Yes, I am. Okay, are you in a safe place right now? Yeah, we're inside. Okay, so you don't have any description on the individual? I'm sorry, what? You don't have any description on the individual? No, all I know is that he was, who is it? All I know is that he was yelling, and he was tall, very skinny. He looks like a white male, but it's dark out, so I couldn't see anything. Okay. All right, I'm going to let you go, okay? Just, okay, please. Okay.
Right, so that's the conclusion of the 911 calls I have for you in regards to the Northern Arizona shooting. You can see Stephen Jones. I showed you his photo from his Instagram page. It's just such an upsetting scenario, so unfortunate. You know, multiple lives were affected today. This guy's family is, this guy is never, probably, who knows when he'll see his family again, if ever. He took the life of another young man, and we don't know the status of the 3 young men that were also sent to the hospital this morning. So just so unfortunate. I was devastated to have to bring that to you earlier today, along with we were concerned with an active shooter on a Kentucky campus today, as well as there being a shooting on a Texas campus today. So I hope next week I'm not bringing you any stories even remotely like this. I don't want to cover these stories anymore. I need for people to stop shooting each other up, and I need for people to stop shooting campuses up where people are there trying to better themselves. I was very disappointed that we had to bring you this. And this guy, Stephen Jones, just by looking at his social media, seemed to have a really great little life. Why would you do that? You know, there's just no justification for it. It is 9 o'clock, which means you should tune into our 9 o'clock television news broadcast. And let me show you where to go for that. I think I still have my lower third made, unless I don't. Oh, it was beautiful too. Beautiful lower third is now gone. But you can go to fox10phoenix.com/live. Again, that's fox10phoenix.com/live. And you can watch our local television news broadcast, where we've still got Danielle Miller and Andrew Hasbin on the scene in Flagstaff at the school. Danielle's talked to multiple students at the college. I know Andrew's covering mostly the legal aspects of the case. Andrew's in court today with the suspect, and Andrew even talked about him. You heard him mentioning earlier the suspect crying throughout the case, weeping a bit. And if you're interested in hearing the suspect in court, you can go to our YouTube channel because we uploaded that audio. But I'm going to go ahead and let you go. It's 9 o'clock. Head over to fox10phoenix.com/live to enjoy our live television broadcast of our local TV news. It's with John Hook and Troy Hayden this evening. You should download our app. It's free. We cover a lot of events like Bernie Sanders, and you can receive notifications sent to your phone whenever we have breaking news. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We're Fox 10 Phoenix. This is Fox 10 News Now. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and we will see you again on Monday morning at 10 a.m. And don't forget, we're Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. unless there's breaking news. Then we're earlier or we're later. And we are we're a live YouTube channel, so subscribe to us and continue to participate in the conversation. Thank you so much for spending your Friday evening with me. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, but I appreciate your time and I enjoyed your company this evening. That goes to whoever said bring back the pretty lady. That was to Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Thank you.